It seems like money is a taboo subject that we talk about in the church, and we use money every day. So open your mind that God wants for you. So he asked the question, how would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality. How would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality.
Well, hello, and welcome to How Would Jesus Invest? I am Gayle M. Gilmore, and my mission each week is to share about that taboo subject and often dirty words in the church, money and prosperity. I'm so glad that you're joining me today. Oh my goodness, it's Veterans Day, and before I say anything else, just want to thank all of those that have served in all branches of the military, and we want to thank you for your service. Oh my goodness. But again, thank you for joining me this morning. I know Saturdays are kind of those days that you want to rest. Now, some of you have probably had a long weekend. Maybe you were out yesterday. But again, I thank you for joining me today. And please let me know that you're watching by just typing in the chat. Oh, I just want to let you know I am the author of an award-winning book, How Would Jesus Invest? Breaking the Poor Man's Mentality. And it won the 2011 Christian Choice Book Awards in the area of finance, because I believe that this is one area that Christians are just lacking in the church, because Hosea 4:6, and I just put this on the back of my book, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And as I've said so many times, there's more in the Bible about finances, over 2,000 and some verses compared to 200 and some verses about salvation and faith. So God must mean for it to be very important, and that's an area that we are lacking in. Well, I want to tell you, not only that book, I'm the author of 4 books. It Can't Be Boring, a Christian youth program for difficult times, Miracles of the Exchange, Intentional Blessings, Only by the Grace of God, the story of my dear friend Sharon Dixon, who was a domestic violence victim, and of course, my award-winning book, How Would Jesus Invest? And you may order any of those books at the website, Entwined.com. Just go under Gayle's book. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Somebody today could be blessed with my book, Miracles of the Exchange, Intentional Blessings. Even if you just got it for that beautiful cover, that depicts the hands of Jesus, after he was crucified and nailed to a cross, holding that beautiful gift, because his miracles, the miracles of the exchange, they are intentional. And he wants us to be intentionally blessed. Now, you can be blessed with this autographed copy of Miracles of the Exchange if you can share 3 reasons why it is more blessed to give than to receive. Oh, I covered this last week. And How Would Jesus Invest? And I know my frequent watchers, I know you take notes and everything. One of our members, Sister Edna Duke, she won her copy for answering the question last week. And so if you watched last week, if you put it in the chat sometime before I go off and I check it, you will be blessed with an autographed copy of Miracles of the Exchange. If you already have a copy, you might want to give it as a Christmas gift, Yes, I do call the holiday Christmas, when Jesus was born. And I really think that is catching on. So again, I just want to thank you for tuning in to How Would Jesus Invest? Now, I want to tell you another thing, that I am the wife. I've been married to this handsome guy right here for 41 years, and he is the pastor and founder of Entwined Ministries, and that is my husband, James Gilmore Sr., and I also serve as co-pastor. And we're getting ready. This is one of our past celebratory pictures, but we're getting ready to celebrate the 11th anniversary of our church. And if you're ever in the Tidewater or the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, come on and visit us at Grace Entwined Ministries. We call ourselves the Gym, and we're located at 3923 Deep Creek Boulevard in the city of Portsmouth, Virginia. And our worship services are every Sunday at 10 a.m. And we would certainly love to have you. We certainly love to have you. We are just reaching the world with all of the different sharings that we have. And we just want to encourage you to subscribe to this Gem Nugget channel so you can catch all of these wonderful programs and information and encouragement and things. We were at over 8,000 subscribers, and we want to get to 10,000 and above. So don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, you can share this, you can comment, and several people have done it. And we thank you for helping us to build our subscribers and our viewers. We thank you so much for that. So I'm going to get into what we're going to share today. A couple of weeks ago, I had announced that I was going to be sharing some financial lessons from the parables of Jesus, because a lot of time we have been talking about tithing and giving, and a lot of especially church folks say, well, that doesn't really apply. That's the Old Testament. But Jesus actually taught us a lot of financial lessons from the parables. And a couple of weeks ago, I started with the parable of the talents. The master had given three of his servants a certain number of talents, 1 5, 1 3, 1 1, to took theirs and invested and made them more, because he wants us to multiply. He wants us to invest. He doesn't want us to bury our gifts like that one that had the one. So we're going to continue, because last week the Lord led me to the lesson about it being more blessed to give than to receive. But we're going back into the parables, because Jesus taught a lot about the parables. And first, before I go into this, I just want to share the story briefly, which is found in the 25th chapter of St. Matthew. And you might want to look at this yourself. And I want to go to the New Living Translation, because I'm going to summarize the story. A lot of you have probably heard the story, but there's some words in the New Living Translation that's really going to help us to understand and to get some lessons from this parable about the 10 virgins. Now, there's some versions of the Bible, they said the 10 bridesmaids. But yes, they were virgins. And I'll tell you more about the story in a minute. But, it starts out telling that the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven, is like 10 bridesmaids or 10 virgins. And they took lamps, and they went to meet the bridegroom. And you're saying, what is this all about? Well, let me give you some background of how things work in biblical times. Well, when a man decided that he wanted to marry a young lady, and we're going to even talk about this as we get into our Christmas season, when we talk about Mary, and she was engaged or betrothed to Joseph. And being engaged or betrothed, it was more serious than it was today. But in preparation, what the bridegroom would do, what he would go and he would leave the bride. They weren't supposed to have no sexual relations or anything like that. That's why they call virgins. And while he was gone away, what he was doing, he was preparing the place that they would live. I wish that was like that today. when men and women got married, the man would go and prepare a house. He would build a house, make sure everything was ready for his new bride. And so when he went away, you really didn't know when he was coming back. So the wedding party had to be prepared so for the event when he come back. Now, if you weren't ready to go to the celebration, and these celebrations, they last for days, but the main part was you had to be ready. The bride had to be ready. All her wedding party had to be ready. And so we know biblical times, we didn't have cars and limousines. They were on foot. They traveled a lot by night, and they had to have their lamps ready. So as the story goes on, these 10 bridesmaids, they had their lamps, and they went to meet the bridegroom. So they heard that the bridegroom had come. So the problem was that the 5 who were foolish, they didn't take enough of what was said here, olive oil in their lamps. I know some of us back in the day when we were growing up with our grandparents, we had those lamps that had the little wick, but you had to make sure you had the oil in the bottom, because the wick wouldn't be able to burn unless that wick soaked up the oil, and then you could burn. So this was similar to what these bridesmaids had. But 5 of them were foolish and 5 of them were wise. Now, they weren't foolish or wise because they were intellectually lacking or whatever. We're going to see why 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. Well, the 5 who were foolish, guess what? They didn't take enough of the olive oil or the oil for their lamps. They had everything else together. They were virgins. They probably were dressed nice. They were smelling nice. They were beautiful, and they had everything. They even had their lamps. But the difference was the ones that were foolish, they didn't have enough. They just lived for that day, just enough to get by for that time. But it said that the wise, they had enough to take along extra oil, or I like the New Living Translation. They had extra oil. And so when the bridegroom, they didn't know when he was coming, they just fell asleep. All of them just fell asleep. But then at midnight, okay, it's midnight, it's dark, so they're gonna need some light. And it said at midnight they were roused by the shout, the bridegroom is coming. The bridegroom is coming. He's on his way. Come out and meet him. And then all the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamp. We get ready to go. We get ready to celebrate. But the 5 foolish ones asked the others. They found out, oh, we ain't got enough in our lamps. And what they had the audacity to ask the 5 wise ones that had extra, please give us some of your oil because our lamps are going out. People are like that today. They depending on stuff that you have instead of them being prepared for whatever opportunities and whatever things come up. But this is another thing that made the wise ones wise. But the others, the 5, well, we don't have enough for all of us. You go and get your own oil. Go to a shop and buy some for yourself. King James said, go get your own oil. Buy for yourself. That was the other thing that made them wise. So the foolish ones, they said, and they couldn't do nothing else. And so they went out to buy some oil. But guess what? While they were out to buy the oil, guess what? The bridegroom came. Those who were ready, it was in the word, those who were prepared went in with him to the marriage feast. And guess what? After the ones that were ready to go to the marriage feast went in, they had the lamps, they was ready, the door shut. The door shut. The door was locked to the wedding, and they couldn't get in. And so later, when the other 5 foolish virgins or foolish bridesmaids returned, they stood outside, called, Lord, Lord, open the door for us, open the door. But he called back. He said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. I don't know you. And so the last verse says, watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. You know, those of us that have been in church and we've been in vacation Bible school and Sunday school, we see it as a spiritual lesson in being ready to go with Jesus when he comes. We have to be saved. And of course, but it's also teaching us something about finances. And the thing that we have to be is prepared. We have to prepare. You know, Benjamin Franklin, he had a famous saying, and this is what he said. He said, and this applies to anything that we're really talking about. If you fail to plan, if you don't prepare, if you don't plan, you are planning to fail. And that is really in all areas of life. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, they are announcing that, you know, our government, you know, still in a shambles, really. They're talking about another government shutdown. If they don't come to some agreement in by Friday, November the 17th, the government could be shut down. You know, it was about to shut down about a month ago, and they turned that around. They was trying to get a Speaker of the House, all that. But again, there's a threat of it being shut down. So what, I mean, if it's shut down, because back in 2018, the government did shut down for about a month, about 30 days. But you know what? Those of us and those of you that were prepared with a backup, you probably didn't even notice it. I know there were some people we know that work for the government, and Grace Entwined Ministries, we did help them because it was one of those things, you know. But there are things not just in life, but even in our finances that may come up. And the thing that we can learn from the parable here is that we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared. And I just want to share these 4 points here, because the first thing is to prepare. Now, I want to share a clip, and this is talking about being prepared in life. And it was just so funny because the Lord had showed me to share this parable about the 10 virgins. And lo and behold, Pastor and I was watching Bishop T.D. Jakes, and yes, he was preaching about this parable and about the same thing, about being prepared. And I just want to show you this clip.
All God gives us is an opportunity. How we steward the opportunity is up to us. You can blame your mama, you can blame your daddy, you can blame your sister, you can blame your brother, you can blame your whole family, you can blame your community, you can blame your size, you can blame your weight, blame whatever you want to blame, but you're only playing games with yourself. You fell asleep with no oil, you fell asleep unprepared, you fell asleep because you thought it would be And there's nothing worse than the regret that comes from getting serious too late. Woo, glory. That's so good, I'm going to get the CD myself. There's nothing worse than the regret of getting serious too late in a marriage, in a ministry, in a business, in a leadership role. It doesn't matter where you apply this truth. It will fit you. It will fit all sizes.
Wow. He just said it. All God gives us is an opportunity. All 10 of those virgins had the opportunity. All 10 of those bridesmaids had the opportunity to go into that wedding. But only 5 of them were serious, that they prepared themselves. And just like Bishop Jake said, and nothing is worse than the regret of getting serious too late or getting prepared too late. And again, like he said, it applies to everything. It applies to ministry. It applies to business. It applies to marriages. It applies to everything, because the thing is that we have to prepare. And number 2, we should know that unexpected financial challenges will happen. Not even just financial, like I said, marital, all types of things can happen, and we need to be prepared. You know, it's just like in life, you know, there can be sickness that cuts off funds. It can be different things that happen. The job could shut down. We could go through a pandemic, a government shutdown, whatever. But we need to be prepared for those unexpected financial challenges. We need to create an emergency plan. That's a plan of action, a plan of action. And I have mentioned this before in an exchange nugget. You should have at least a year's emergency fund. You know, I know a lot of us probably say, oh my goodness, I just can get a month or 2. But, you know, it's wise that you have a year's emergency plan, because anything could come up. Now, the thing about these 10 virgins, they knew the bridegroom was coming, but they didn't know when. You should know there's going to be some challenges coming in your finances and things. You just might not know when they'll come. But simply, that is what we're learning from the parable of the 10 virgins. I want to end with a story. This is a true story because it's about my family. And I've told you so many times, my parents, Sister Annie Metley and Thomas Metley, they adopted me when I was a baby. They were in their 50s. And I want to tell you this. I lived in the same house from the time that I was born until I moved out and got married. And my parents lived there. My father passed away. And so my mom lived in the same house until a year before she passed away. Because what happened the year before she passed away, we didn't know she had cancer, breast cancer. She hid it very well. And she knew things that she didn't share with me. But what had happened a year before, they were coming through her neighborhood and they had to tear down her house that we had lived in our whole life. Now, she rented this house. Her and Daddy rented this house. We lived downstairs. Another family lived upstairs. I was a baby in that house. And now y'all can see me. I'm in my 60s now. But she passed away in 96. And she lived there from the time that I was born up until 95, because she passed away in 96. Now, let me tell you about this. Her and Daddy rented this home. It was their home for $48 a month. Yes, yeah, that's what I said. $48 a month. And if it was a fifth Sunday, she paid $60. They paid $60. But they were good friends with the landlord and the people, and they just let them go like that, never went up on the rent. $48 a month, and then $60 when it was fifth Sunday. So, and mama and daddy, they kept up the house. And daddy passed, she kept up the house and everything. And the landlord loved them because they, although, you know, they were renting, they kept up the house just as if it was theirs. But anyway, when they said they had to tear down the house, condemn the house, tear it down, build a new school, the new school was coming through there. I'm like, I was thinking, I was married and all of that, and we had 2 children, and she had babysit our children and everything. And I'm saying, I don't think mama realizes how much rent is these days. She's been paying $48 for all of these years and $60 every once in a while. And so I was prepared to help her, whatever place she wanted to move into, to prepare for the new place. And we looked around. She found this neat little house. I call it a little bungalow. It had two bedrooms, a big one and a small one, but it was just big enough for her. Now this was back in 1995, and the rent she was getting ready to pay was going to be $260 a month. That was low too, you know. Y'all think about rent today. But anyway, compared to $48 up to $260, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't think she'll be able to pay. And so I said, okay, Mom, that's where you're gonna live. I said, me and my husband, we'll help you out. She said, don't worry about it. She went back in her room and she called it a Bama. I never found out where the Bama was until after she passed away. But she had prepared. She always taught me the same thing, to prepare for the rainy days that might come. She said, even if you're married and stuff, you don't want to have to ask somebody just some money to buy you some stockings and stuff. But that was another lesson. But anyway, she went back there. And not only did she have $260, she had double. You know how you have to pay the first month rent and then she had double. She had it all. And me and my husband just looked at each other because she believed in being prepared. She didn't know what was going to happen. And what she did, she was a housewife most of her life, but she cooked for a lot of people and she saved her money. She paid her tithes. She did all these things and she saved her money and she had that money. And even until the time that she passed away, she met that rent every month until she passed away. That's what I'm talking about, preparation. And she was wise. She was wise like that, not knowing that they were going to come through and take that house away and so forth. But that's what we're talking about. That's the lesson that we can learn. Because as I said here, you need to know that unexpected final challenges will happen. You just get it in your head. It's going to happen. Something is going to happen. I mean, it may not affect some people that's super duper rich or anything, but just be prepared. I mean, everything might be going well. Somebody gets sick or something. Somebody die. Something happens. Government shutdown, whatever they're doing. But you know that it's going to happen. Create an emergency plan. And just like those the wise ones, they had extra. They was ready. Whenever that bridegroom was going to come, they was going to be ready, and they had their fun. They had their money ready. So that's the lesson that we're learning from the parable of the virgins. We need to be prepared. And I just love what Bishop Jake said again. All God gives us is an opportunity, but we have to be ready to take that opportunity, whether we're talking about in anything, in business, in finances, in our marriages, in our relationship, in our ministry. We have to be prepared. Oh my goodness. That is all that I have today. I'm going to go back and I'm going to look through all the comments. I'm going to see who's going to get my book and be blessed with my book. You can even go back if you missed last week's episode. I'll still let it count. First one that can put 3 reasons why it's more blessed to give than to receive from last week's sharing. You're going to be blessed with that book. But that's all that I have for today. Yeah, I met my goal today. I was just trying to be with you about 30 minutes, and I'm going on 31 minutes. So I'm going to get out of here. But I thank you for joining. I thank you for joining. This is November. Just love this season. And again, if you're ever in the Tidewater area, come and visit us at Entwined Ministries. Somebody said we are on the corner of hope and opportunity. So come on and join us Sundays at 10 a.m. I've got another parable for next week because we are learning financial lessons from the parables. But this has been How Would Jesus Invest? Bye-bye.
It seems like money is a taboo subject that we talk about in the church, and we use money every day. So open your mind that God wants for you. So he asked the question, how would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. How would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor